Good morning. Welcome to Business Lab with Dean, and we are here with Charlie Eblen of Singletree Barbecue. And we are switching up. We're in kind of season 2 of Business Lab with Dean, and we are focusing on craftsmen. And so last season was all about fun, and I thought craftsmen would be kind of a good segue from that because I think a lot of people really enjoy their craft. And having eaten at Singletree Barbecue, it's pretty apparent, Charlie, that you enjoy your craft.
Very much so. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what it is that you do and where you do it.
So, Charlie Eblen, owner operator of Singletree Wood Fire Barbecue, based out of here in Murfreesboro. Um, we're on a mission to help build and grow community through the perfect plate of barbecue. So, I do that by putting every ounce of my heart and soul into every plate of barbecue that I can to help build relationships over a dinner table.
I love that. I love that. So how did you get started doing doing physical barbecue?
So I've been in the restaurant business for, I guess, going on 28 years now. My entire life,
Mhm.
I've always been in the restaurant business. When it was 14 years old, it was, get a job, Chuck.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right.
So I started working in a restaurant, washing dishes. One thing led to another. I started cooking,
Mhm.
and I started managing,
Yeah.
and I started running the whole place. And life has just kind of kept me there through the hills and valleys of all of it.
Sure.
Um, Growing up as a kid, I was always at my grandfather's house,
Mhm.
and we would always cook, sitting on the back patio, live fire cooking, and just really kind of rehashing the day and trying to conquer the world's problems. One
Nice.
one steak at a time. So
So any restaurants that you used to work at that we would have heard of?
a couple, a couple. So I've worked at my last job was Bar Louie.
Okay.
Before that I was at Logan's, Ruby Tuesdays,
Mhm.
um, the taking it back a few years, Fuddruckers.
Oh yeah.
Um, I've been in and around the restaurant business for a while.
Here in
So
Murfreesboro?
from Murfreesboro to Nashville to Huntsville, Birmingham, Missouri, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida,
Okay.
Alabama, all over the place. So
Cool.
yeah.
Bar Louie, I think, is a sleeper restaurant. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people go there just because they can drink.
It's when you hear the name, you don't think about food,
Right.
right? And that's always been one of their challenges is they the food side of it kind of gets missed because of the name Spar Louie.
Right.
But they have good food.
They really do.
They do a good job.
Um so what did you when you were growing up, was it always the restaurant industry or how, like what did you want to be when you grew up?
I was going to be a professional golfer.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's kind of surprising
yeah. It's left field, right?
a little
So
bit.
especially when you look at me. There's not many PGA Tour professionals that are tattooed from head to toe and got a beard a foot long. Um, but the backstory on that is my father played golf.
Mhm.
He played in college, played professionally, was a teaching pro, became a head superintendent, went to school for plant pathology and agronomy, and loves to grow grass,
Right.
right? So it was always there. In high school, right before I started high school, he became a sales rep for Tommy Armour Golf.
Okay.
So I was always in and around golf. It wasn't even really a choice of whether or not I wanted to be around it. I didn't have a choice. It was right there in front of me. So and
Mhm.
I just grew and grew a big love for playing the game because it's not a golf is one of the only sports. It's not You're not really competing against anybody else but yourself.
Sure.
It's you and the golf course.
Mhm.
Most of your errors made on a golf course playing golf are in between your ears,
Right.
not because somebody else hit a great shot.
Yeah.
So I've always loved very challenging things like that, to where it's personal growth, not, you know, somebody, didn't catch it at third, or missed the jumper or whatever. And, now it's you.
Sure.
So I did everything I could to play. I played in high school, went to the state championship a couple of times, tried to play in college. I did end up getting to play professional golf in a tournament in Southern Alabama. And if anybody wants to know what pressure is, stand on the tee of a professional golf tournament and know that you're the only one that has your fate in your hands. And I absolutely loved it and would have continued doing it, but ran out of money.
Sure.
So
it's not a cheap sport to do.
No, that one tournament cost me $5,000-6,000.
Holy moly.
So
do you so you mentioned golf being kind of a very individual thing. Do you feel like that has carried over into barbecue?
very much so.
How so?
100%. So it's the exact same thing. It's you and the smoker,
Right.
You can't. There's. I've never met anybody that can control fire.
Sure.
You just can't, right? And the ones that understand it and can at least shape it, kind of keep it where they need it,
right?
Their barbecue is typically the best.
Okay.
It's not cooking barbecue has really nothing to do with the food. It has everything to do with fire management.
Really?
That's the number one thing in cooking great barbecue.
So I've never thought of it that way. Can you explain that a little bit? I know that there, any craft there's
it's so fire management is I tell people all the time, if you're riding down the road and you see a big smoker on the side of the road and it's just billowing white smoke everywhere, right? Do not eat that barbecue. Don't. Stay away. It's going to be real bitter. It's going to have way too much smoke. It's not going to taste good. It'll taste like an ashtray. If you go by a smoker and it has like when you're riding down the road in the middle of summer and the road looks like it's melting, that's what the top of the smoker should look like. They call it clean smoke or blue smoke.
Oh.
So you're not really cooking with smoke. You're cooking with fire. And your mission is to maintain that fire and that heat consistently throughout your entire cook. So if you're wanting you to cook at 225 or you're wanting to cook at 250, you want to maintain as close to that temperature as you can. And it's almost impossible to keep it perfect.
Sure.
But if you can maintain it within 5 degrees plus or minus, you're doing phenomenal.
Which I'm just learning how to do that, I imagine, is a skill all in and of itself.
It's tough. And on top of all of that, what time of year it is, the temperature outside, the humidity level, there's so many different things in how you cook, what size smoker you have, the smaller the smoker, the harder it's going to be.
Sure.
People get so frustrated because they go to Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever grill shop and they buy these, small little smokers and they try to build a fire inside these little small smoke boxes and fire boxes, and they can't. And then they get frustrated and they're like, oh man, I'm done with that. Well, it's my 250 gallon smoker at home, the big one that I have is not a cheap machine.
Sure.
It's but it's built that way for a reason.
Right.
I cook a lot of barbecue.
You do. So how did you learn to do this? Like, was there a mentor? Did you take a course?
Screwing it up. That's the best way to learn. A lot of the fire stuff I learned as a kid, just hanging out with my dad, my grandfather and Bell Buckle, on Singletree Farm and just really learning how to build a fire, just in general, and then to keep it going. And then a lot of the food stuff I've just learned through the years. I've been lucky enough and privileged enough to work with some really good chefs and really good pit masters that know everything there is to know about barbecue.
Right.
and they're way better at it than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And my number one goal is to maintain and keep things simple and consistent.
Okay.
So, I don't try to overcomplicate what I do.
Sure. Sure. So I'm going to say this, and this is true. This is not hyperbole. I used to work a lot in Texas. I traveled in a in the elevator industry, and so I was in Texas a lot. And they're proud of their brisket.
Mm-hmm.
Your brisket is better than any I've had in Texas.
Oh, well, thank you.
Maybe you don't want to give away any secrets, but
No, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
how do you? So I put the fork in the brisket and held it up, and it's like pieces started to fall off from their own weight, and I was
Mhm.
like, "That's really good brisket. That's super tender and moist." How do you do that?
It's science, amazingly enough. And I tell people there's a lot more math and science that goes into cooking than there is anything else. And then a lot of it's just tender love and care and passion for it, right? I mean,
Sure.
if you don't love something, you're not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for it.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. Honestly, I get a very high quality piece of meat. I buy prime brisket, so that gives me a leg up. It's a lot more expensive,
Yeah.
but it also produces a lot better product.
Yeah.
And I cook it very low, very low temperatures for a very long time.
Okay.
And then just the procedural stuff. I wrap it at a specific time, and it's not about what temperature it's at; it's what it looks like, what it feels like. So I mean, I can go show you, right? But I can't tell you, hey, at 169 degrees, you need to wrap it up.
Sure.
It's not the case,
Right.
And then the same thing when I pull it off. Prime example is this weekend. We were at the Apple Festival, and I cooked a whole bunch of brisket for the Apple Festival. Well, Friday night or Saturday morning, I should say, when I pulled the brisket off, they all came off, and I use my thermometer for feel, not necessarily temperature, but it gives you a temperature when you probe the meat, and they were all somewhere around 203, 204 degrees. Sunday morning, same exact thing, same exact procedure. Pushed it in. I had, I think, 6 briskets on, and all 6 were a different temperature.
Really? That's so strange.
Yeah. So, and that they all ranged from, one of them was 199 or 198 degrees, and one of them was 206.
Wow.
So, but they all felt the same.
Okay. And so did they all turn out well?
They were pretty good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something. You said if you don't love it, you're not going to get up at 4 a.m. to do it. How do you, because you've done this for a while now, right? How do you stay in love with that when you're tired and it's 4 a.m. and it's rainy and you're like, oh man, I don't want to do this today?
I'm a part of a group on Clubhouse, and we meet every Wednesday and Friday at noon Central Time, and it's digital hospitality, and we talk a lot about this kind of thing. And it's really the Mamba mentality, right? Kobe didn't care whether he was tired. Michael never cared if he was tired. It's a discipline,
Sure.
right? It's not a choice for me. I don't wake up in the morning and go, yeah, I'm taking the day off. I wake up in the morning and go, I get the privilege to go cook this food and change somebody's day.
Sure.
I think it's a privilege and an honor for me to be able to impact the community. Why would I ever not want to get up and go do that?
That's great.
And to be able to do that, whether it's me just, smiling my ugly face at you and giving you a plate of brisket, get you a little bit happier, than wonderful. If it's the food, great. If it's a story I have, great, whatever it may be. But it's not about, Singletree Barbecue is not about barbecue.
Okay.
It's literally about impacting community and making a change,
Sure.
and being able to to do things in this community that nobody's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
When did you make that decision? Because that's a very conscious and that's a very insightful decision for somebody, because I think a lot of people are like, well, you know, I do, I'm a plumber. I fix pipes, I turn wrenches, whatever.
right.
Most people don't think beyond what it is that they're actually operationally doing into the larger. And you have, when can you tell me a little bit about that?
I've been thinking about that my entire life. So every job that I've ever had is the same thing. Now I'm blessed with the fact that I don't have a job, right? And not a lot of people can look at it that way. But in 2020, I was essentially the vice president of operations for the Southeast at Bar Louie.
Mm-hmm.
I had restaurants from Missouri to Florida to Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was traveling 4 or 5 days a week, and I made good money and had a whole bunch of managers underneath me, and it was a blast, right?
Sure.
And I got up every day and I got to do the same thing. I got to impact people's lives, but it was in training and developing and teaching them how to grow their careers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was as far as my reach went, which is wonderful in its own aspect. But
Mm-hmm.
I've always said that if I had my own, that I was going to do everything I possibly could in my power
Mm-hmm.
to make an impact. And I don't feel like I don't feel like there's a lot of restaurant companies, especially that are worried about making an impact in the community versus making an impact in their own personal wallets.
Sure.
And that's I think as a business owner, it is a responsibility of a business owner to make an impact, not just make money, because you have the ability to make someone else's life better.
Right. I love that. And that's how it is at Borough Business Lab. There's a lot of marketing companies that just want to take your money and do their thing. And
right.
We actually want our clients to have a better business, to have a better life because of what we're doing for them.
Very much so.
And we're doing some fun things in the community too. So that's really cool. So you talked about community, and you talked about that it's not necessarily something that you think about, I have to get up and do this, or do I want to get up and do this? You said it's a privilege to be able to get up and do this and do the barbecue and build the community. Have there been times when you've second guessed that, or thought, I'm not feeling it?
I don't think there's ever been a time where I've gone, I don't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really feeling the barbecue anymore. There has been times where I woke up and went, son of a biscuit. How am I going to make today work?
Right.
How am I going to pay the light bill tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, I've had conversations where, I'm looked at my wife and looked at my business partner, and we've gone, okay, now what?
Right.
And Abraham Lincoln said that I may walk slow, but I never walk backwards.
Mm-hmm.
If you consistently put one foot in front of the other,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to go forward.
Sure.
You don't have a choice, right? there's no other option there, right? And I've known and loved that quote for 30 years, and have always tried to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't care how slow my growth is. I just want to do it right.
Right.
I don't care if I ever stumble. I just want to do it right. There was a day in January, Dean, I woke up and I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? We've hit every roadblock in America. I mean, every wall has been built in front of us, and we're still here.
Right.
But I'm so darn tired of these speed bumps getting in the way.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous, man. What we got to do to figure out how to get around these. And we simply just said, keep going.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm not some smart and intellectual fella. It's going to give you a great answer there. Other than I just you can hit me as hard as you want to, but I'm going to come back.
Sure.
And if I don't come back, well, I don't know what that is because I've never not come back.
Right.
And so we just put our head down and get back to work.
I love that. What advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about starting a business, or maybe even more specifically, starting in the food business?
It's a great question, and I was asked that question 2 weeks ago, actually. It's for me, it's very simple. I think if you want to be in the food business, it starts with true, genuine hospitality. Um, if you, it's one thing to say thank you,
Right.
right? Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you. My pleasure. That's not hospitality. That's just that's just manners.
Right.
There's a huge difference. If you really want to be successful in this business, people have to leave your establishment and get in the car, look at their spouse, significant other, friend, or whatever, and go, are they really that nice? Do they really care that much?
Yeah.
There was a guy I know always says he hates it when people ask him how he's doing because he knows that they genuinely don't care.
Right.
And every time he says it, I want to call BS on it. Because if I ask you how you're doing, I genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
What'd you do today? How was your breakfast? How was your lunch? How was your dinner? How was your weekend? How's your wife? How's your kids? Whatever it is, I genuinely want to know because I genuinely want to learn who my guests are.
Sure.
I genuinely want to know your story. And there's not a lot of people out there anymore in any restaurant you go to that genuinely care about you.
Right.
I absolutely love the Blue Plate Cafe. I think those people are some of the nicest, most genuine individuals in Rutherford County.
Where's that?
The Blue Plate Cafe?
Yeah.
On Lytle Street, across the street from the courthouse.
Oh, Blue Porch.
Blue Porch, what'd I say?
Yes, Blue Plate.
Blue Plate,
Yeah,
sorry.
Okay, I was like, I've not heard that one. Okay, Blue Porch.
I got the name wrong.
They are super nice.
Yeah, Cynthia's amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
That's really cool. And do you think that's something you're born with, or do you think that's something you can kind of train yourself to care?
It's a good question. I think the longer I've done it, the more the genuineness has come out. I think I've always cared.
Right.
It's whether or not, it's just in my soul as much as it is now.
Right.
But it's look, I think if you wake up, sorry, we got phone calls coming in. I think if you wake up every morning wanting to make a difference, I don't think you have a choice but to continuously grow that passion to genuinely care.
Right. Right. So where do you see Singletree Wood Fire Barbecue going in the future?
We're taking over the world.
I love it.
Taking over the world. That's it. No, I think we're going to continuously grow. What that growth looks like, I don't know. We've added merchandise with our hats and our barbecue sauce being bottled.
So you bottle barbecue sauce?
That is straight off the press from I think that was Thursday I got it.
Oh, we're breaking news here.
Breaking news.
I love it.
It's pretty good. So it's my recipe. I just have a co-packer bottle it for me. So that's brand new. It's the original sauce that's being bottled now. Cool story. This weekend we took a whole bunch with us for the Apple Fest, and excuse me, lady comes up, she orders like 3 sandwiches and takes off, and my partner tried to sell her a bottle of barbecue sauce to go with it. It's only $5. Grab it and go. No. Okay, great. It wasn't 10 minutes later, she came back and bought two bottles of the barbecue sauce. So it was, it's cool to have. And for me, it's a very prideful thing. Singletree comes from the name of my grandfather's farm in Bell Buckle.
Okay.
And my father and my grandfather are two of the most important men in my life. And my grandfather passed away when I joined the military. So to be able to keep his legacy alive and continue on what he started is very important to me. So
that's
to
fantastic.
be able to have that sauce with the name on it is pretty cool.
Yeah. What branch?
Army.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
So what's one thing that you feel like I should have asked but didn't ask?
How tall I am.
How tall are you, Charlie?
I don't know. I'm well, it depends on, I got boots on today, so I'm about 5'7", 5'8". Let's see. One thing you should have asked that you didn't. I would probably go with why I started this.
Okay. That is a great question. Why did you start specifically Singletree Barbecue?
So I alluded to my grandfather a minute ago. He always wanted to have a restaurant. He was retired brigadier general out of the Army, JAG Corps, spent a lot of time as an attorney afterwards, became a federal judge. Never took the leap to jump into the restaurant business. I've always been in the restaurant business. So in 2020, when I got let go from my position at Bar Louie, and I'm in my office typing away on my computer, looking at Indeed and LinkedIn and trying to find a job, my wife looks at me and says, "Well, what are you going to do?" I'm going to get a job, honey. No, really. What are you going to do? We're in the middle of a pandemic. What are you going to do?
Right.
And she wasn't being mean or callous or anything. She was just genuinely wanting to know what the plan was.
Yeah.
And does she need to go get a job? Do we both need to go get a job? Am I going to find something? And a couple of days go by and she comes back up into the office again and she says, "Okay, you've had time. What are you going to do?" And I looked at her and I said, "I don't know. I really do not know." And she responded with, "Well, why don't you stop working for everybody else and start working for yourself?"
That's great.
And I said, "Wow, okay. What am I going to sell? What am I going to do for myself?" And she said, "I don't know. Figure it out."
Wow.
So I had a friend of mine shoot me a text one day and said, you find anything? And I said, "No, I'm thinking about working for myself." And he said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "I don't know, I guess open a restaurant. That's the only thing I know that's what I know how to do." And he said, "Okay." So I started looking into it. And I looked at all the restaurants that were for sale in Rutherford County. And some of them I didn't want at all. And some of them had interest, and some of them were just asking way too much money for what they were. And then I was really started thinking about, why am I going to start another brand or go into another brand? Why don't I start my own brand?
Yeah.
And truly not just work for myself, but build my brand.
Sure.
And be able to be 1000% me. And if people love it, great. If they don't, great. But I tried. Right. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with society today is there's tons of people out there that have some amazing ideas, and they have the talent and the skills and everything to just make a hugely successful business.
Yeah.
But taking that leap,
it's terrifying.
Is wow.
Yeah.
It is crazy. So I found the food truck, and that really kind of set me towards where and what we were going to start doing.
Okay.
And it was one of the biggest, scariest, happiest days of my life. Still is.
And it's scary for a long time. It's not just scary for like a minute. Like, if you jump off the high dive, it's scary for a second.
for sure.
You start a business, it's scary for years.
Look, I'm 2 years in and I'm still scared to death every day.
Yeah.
But I also think that if you're not scared, you're going to fail.
There's a dichotomy there between I was talking to my wife about this very recently. There's a confidence that you have to start a business, and there's a fear and a lack of confidence that you have to grow that business successfully. And like good things happen in that conflict of course I can do this, and oh my God, I'm terrified right now. I'm screwing everything up. Like that conflict brings good things to the world, I think.
I was talking to Jonathan Harmon at Cedar Glades,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I guess, and he said something about being a small business owner. People think you're crazy.
Yeah,
and rightfully so.
Yeah,
because you are.
They're right.
It's one of the smartest, dumbest things you can ever do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many things from when you start to when you make it, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
You can grow too fast.
Oh yeah.
You can grow way too slow.
Mm-hmm.
And you can never grow at all because you're scared to take that next step and do X, Y, and Z to build your brand.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like it's winning the lottery, rolling the bones.
Yeah.
You can roll the dice 100 times and never crap out, or you can roll it once and crap out.
Yeah.
So it's fun though.
So you mentioned Jonathan over at Cedar Glade Brews.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about where you are most of the time?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we Jonathan and I struck a partnership with my food truck and parking the food truck there full time.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't there this past weekend, and I think I irritated a few folks for going to Crossville because my phone was blowing up all weekend about what time we opened and why my trailer was not in front of Cedar Glades. So, but we're there full time. We have I have one more wedding in November that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
My morals just won't let me cancel on somebody's wedding.
Yeah.
So
that's a good call.
Yeah, I can't do that. And they're really nice folks. And I was talking to him yesterday. They're small business owners as well. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do their wedding. It's November 5th. That'll be the only day that we won't be there. So, but yeah, starting tomorrow, we will be back at Cedar Glades full time at 4:00. And here in a couple of weeks, we will be opening up for lunch as well.
Oh,
so from 11:30 to 8-ish, you can get your barbecue Wednesday through Saturday and 2 to 7 on Sunday.
I just gained some weight.
That's outstanding.
Right now, this very second.
It's wonderful.
That's really cool. So, how can people find out more? How can people get in touch with you online and all that sort of good stuff?
It's singletreebbq.com is our website.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to at Singletree BBQ on all social, except for TikTok. TikTok is STBBQ
Mm-hmm.
because my account had to be re-uploaded. So I couldn't get my old name back.
Sure.
But yeah, everything else is all Singletree BBQ. And then my phone number is 615-307-0120. It goes straight to my cell phone. The only time I don't answer is when I am taking care of a guest directly. Otherwise, I'll give you a call back as soon as I possibly can. Or you can email me at Charlie, CHARLIE, at singletreebbq.com.
I love it. Charlie, thanks so much for sharing some time with us this morning.
Hey, you're very welcome. Y'all come out tomorrow and get your porch burger. So we got the Blue Porch's smoked pepper cheese tomorrow, and we partnered with them and have a special burger just for them.
Sounds good.
It's pretty tasty.
I like it. I may actually do that.
Come see me.
Cool. Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are we good?